Hi, welcome to Freezer Meals 101. I'm Christy.
And I'm Charla, and today we are showing you some awesome dump and go casseroles, except that these are kind of dump and go casseroles.
Yes, they are. You're gonna tell us what you mean about that.
Yeah, so you're going to dump the ingredients into your freezer bag so that these can be made ahead, which is about the only thing that's gonna make this even better.
It's true.
And on the day you want to serve them, you dump the bag contents into your casserole dish, put it in the oven, and voila.
And then you go.
Dinner.
That's the go part. What is nice about these that we've picked for you today, there's a tremendous amount of variety.
One of the nicest things about casseroles is that they're so comforty. Like, they're nice and homey.
They're very homey, and often they're a complete meal. There is something about just being able to throw it in to your oven or your slow cooker or your Instant Pot or your air fryer or your barbecue. No, I'm getting carried away. But it is nice to be able to have that full meal experience.
So we are going to show you some awesome family-friendly casseroles today. Stick with us and we will be able to get your freezer stacked. So let's get into the very first recipe.
The first recipe is chicken noodle soup casserole. When we first did this recipe, Charlotte told me about it and I'm like, what? This sounds like very weird and it sounds too simple to be good. But sometimes
it's 5 ingredients.
It's a 5-ingredient recipe. Sometimes simple is what makes it good. Listen, this is 6 ounces of egg noodles that we've cooked ahead. Now, when you are going to freeze pasta, you want to undercook it just a little bit. So if your al dente time on your package says 10 minutes, maybe take it off at 8, and that way it'll prevent it from being mushy when you cook it again later. We're going to add in 1 to 2 chicken breasts that have been cooked and cubed into small pieces, maybe 1 to 2 cups worth if that's how you want to measure it. We want to add in some frozen peas, some kernel corn, and a can of cream of mushroom soup, and that is it. You're gonna mix this all together. Lots of times we do it right in the bag. Sometimes we do it in a big bowl if it seems like it's gonna be cumbersome. And then we're gonna get all that excess air out of your bag and you're gonna freeze it. Then on the day of cooking, you're going to thaw this out because you've all done all the work ahead of time. You're gonna transfer the ingredients into a greased casserole dish. You're going to bake this at 325 for like 25, 30 minutes. It is totally done. It's got vegetables, it's got your starch, it's got your protein in it, and it is surprisingly delicious.
When we first made this one, I was thinking that it wouldn't be saucy enough.
Right.
Because it's just got the can of mushroom soup and it seems like that's not enough, but it is.
It actually is. And
it's not dry.
It's not dry. It is delicious. Sometimes at home when I've eaten this in the spirit of soup, I will sometimes crush up soda crackers on it.
Oh.
Just to add a little bit of crunch.
Because then you get the whole chicken noodle soup experience.
Yes, you do. Yeah, you do. No, this is a really good one, and it's filling, and you can feed your whole family in like 30 minutes.
I like that, the soda crackers. Kitchen tips with Christy.
Well, you've come across tuna casserole recipes where they want you to put the potato chips on top.
Yeah.
It's not unlike that.
No, it's a similar idea. This next recipe I actually saw on Julia Pacheco's YouTube channel. And if you haven't watched her YouTube videos before, they're really cute. They all have very simple ideas. She does have some freezer meals, but in general, her channel is just devoted to very simple, easy recipes that anyone can do. So this one happens to be one that freezes really well, so I thought that we would give it a try. And this is her country sausage and hash brown casserole. We have put 1 smoked garlic sausage ring. So that is, here in Canada, we call that a kubasa. I know that some other places it's called kielbasa. And whatever you call it, you're gonna slice that up, toss it into a large bowl. Then you're gonna add 30 ounces of frozen shredded hash browns, a 1/4 cup of melted butter, some diced onion, some cheddar cheese that's shredded, sour cream, a can of cream of chicken soup, some onion powder, paprika, salt, and pepper. Mix all of that together and then put it into a large freezer bag. Get that excess air out, seal it, freeze it. On the day that you go to bake this, you're just going to put the ingredients into a greased baking dish and put it in the oven for 40 minutes. This one, I feel like you could have it as a brunch casserole or as dinner.
You totally could. It hits all those high notes and it really sounds delicious. I'm looking forward to trying that one.
I'm excited to try that one. So thank you, Julia, for the inspiration. We're excited to try that one.
This next one is chili casserole. We just made this in our mega session that we had recently, where we made 140 freezer meals, all in 2 days of assembly. We had a day or two of prep ahead of that. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't all just magic. But it was our first time trying it, and it is delicious. It was a hit with our family, and it is a super easy one, so I know you're gonna like this.
I'm gonna link the video there so you can see the madness behind
what happens in a mega session.
Yes.
If you have a good 2 hours to kill, you can just throw this on in the background and go about your day. So we start out with, in your bag, a pound of ground beef that's been browned. We're gonna add in minced onion, a can of diced tomatoes, some minced garlic. Now we like to use the garlic that is already been minced and it's in the jar. We buy it at Costco, it's done for you. Maybe it's not as flavorful as doing it yourself, but it's fast. And when you're doing 140 meals at a time, we go for speed. So we add in the garlic, we're gonna add in a can of green chilies, and then you're gonna add in 1.5 cups of water. And you're like, why are you adding in all this water? It doesn't make sense. I'll get to that point, bear with me. We're gonna add in some chili powder, some salt and pepper, and here's where the water makes sense. In a separate bag, in a medium size, like a quart freezer bag, you're going to add 1 cup of long grain white rice. Then you're going to take all of the air out of both of your bags, you're gonna seal them up, and you're gonna staple them together. Make sure you staple above the seal or you will have holes in your bags and you will be mad about this recipe, and I don't want you to be mad. I want you to then throw it in the freezer and forget about it until the day of cooking. You're gonna take it out and let it thaw, and when you put it in your casserole, then you're gonna stir in the bag of the long grain white rice. You're gonna cover it, otherwise the rice won't cook properly, and put it in your oven at 375 for about an hour. And this makes its own wonderful casserole. Again, full meal here. We have all of the things. You can eat this and go. This would be a great one to sprinkle a bit of cheese on if you wanted to. It's really good with cheese, and I would be tempted to probably sprinkle some crackers on this one too.
Well, I think for this one, you could also add like a can of corn.
You totally could
add in some green pepper. Like, it's very versatile.
It really is. And when Charlotte first told me about this recipe and she's like, we're doing this chili casserole, I was thinking in my head it was going to be like chili. And I'm like, why are there no kidney beans in there? It isn't like that. It's chili flavored, right? Like, it's not chili. It's chili flavored, but it's not spicy. Sometimes we have meals on our website or in our club that people shy away from because they think that they're going to be spicy. Chili powder, if you're not using a lot of it, it really doesn't add a lot of spice to a meal. It's just a lot of flavor.
Yes, and this one is not overpowering.
Not at all.
And another thing that we were worried about when we first tried this one was, when you were growing up, you had the shipwreck casserole, and the rice doesn't cook fully
properly.
In this, the rice, even though you're putting the rice in just raw, it cooks.
It cooks. Now the trick is you have to cover it. I didn't the other night. We made it. So this one we made during the day of assembly because sometimes I don't get home in time. It's a long story. I made it here. We covered it. My family came to Charlotte's house during the construction of these meals and they ate here. When I made it the other night, I didn't have that note to myself about make sure that it's covered, and I had to almost recook it a second time once it was covered because the rice wasn't fully cooked. So, you don't want those little pellets of rice in there. You want it cooked properly.
No, it's important that you cover it and you allow it kind of steam and cook.
That's right. Keep all that moisture in there and your rice will be perfectly fine, which is kind of a cool thing.
So today we are actually making 5 casserole recipes, which means that if you double these, you can end up with 10 meals. That's a very big deal.
That is a big deal because those are 10 nights that future you will thank present you for making, because those are nights that you aren't going to have to think about what to cook for supper. It'll just be there for you for the taking.
And if you're gonna brown the beef anyway to make that chili casserole, you might as well brown double the amount. Like, it doesn't take you any extra time.
It's true.
And when you're assembling them, you just lay out 2 bags and dump the things in both bags. And it's really, that part will take you an extra maybe minute or 2, if that.
Same as the chicken noodle soup casserole. You're already cooking the pasta. You already have it in the bowl. Just double it and then divide it between 2 bags.
Absolutely.
Or if you are single or just a couple, you could divide it between smaller bags and just do mini meals, because freezer meals can be for individuals too.
And as far as doubling goes, this one is so easy to double. This is our meatball casserole.
Oh my goodness.
It's so easy. It's really fast to assemble, but it's gonna be really easy to double. If you want, you can buy one of those giant Costco bags of frozen meatballs.
They're delicious if you haven't tried them yet.
Yeah,
they really are.
Then you can quadruple this recipe or even more, right?
Good.
And so that would really, and there's not a lot of work going into here because there's actually nothing you're chopping. There's nothing, there's just nothing that you're making here.
Unless you want to shred your own mozzarella. Now, in this case, sometimes, I don't know if you are a grocery store price watcher, sometimes, just with mozzarella, it is cheaper to buy it pre-shredded than it is to buy the block. Does that make any sense to you? It doesn't to us, but we buy cheaper mozzarella when it's shredded. So this mozzarella that we have for this one, you'll see in the recipe, has already been pre-shredded. So there is literally no work to do in this recipe.
And we recently put together this recipe when we were doing some extremely frugal freezer meals.
Right.
Because we were able to make this for around the $10 mark, including the meatballs, and including that we went the more expensive way and bought the meatballs ahead.
Right, rather than making your own.
Yeah, if you made your own, this would be even less expensive. But we were able to get the shredded mozzarella that was way less expensive than getting the block and shredding it ourselves. So this was literally just throwing things in here. So in our large freezer bag, we're going to put some of those frozen meatballs. Then we're gonna add some marinara sauce. We were able to get some really inexpensive jars of pasta sauce, so we added those, but you could use your favorite pasta sauce in this, or you could use the red sauce, which you can find the recipe for in our Freezer Meals 101 Club. Then we added some Italian seasoning, some shredded mozzarella cheese, and some water. You'll see the reason for the water in a minute. So we're going to seal that bag, getting out all the excess air. And then in another bag, you're going to put some more of that mozzarella cheese. So you do that in a quart-size bag. If you want to, you can put your dry pasta noodles in another bag. The alternative is to keep that penne in your pantry and just put a sticky note on it that says, like, do not use, this is for the meatball casserole.
I mean, that's a really good idea, and really, we hope it works for you, but in our experience, it doesn't always.
Yeah,
we do have teenagers.
Kids don't always stay away from the pasta in the pantry.
But that's okay.
So,
we learn. We have options, right?
In this case, we did put the pasta into another large freezer bag and staple those together so that we will have them all, and they will be 100% still in this house.
Yes.
On the day that you're going to cook this, in a casserole dish, you're going to mix together the large bag contents with that dry pasta. And so now you can see why you added that extra water, because
so it's kind of like the chili casserole. So easy.
It's going to cook up right in that dish.
It's like a one pot.
It is a one pot, one baking dish one, whatever.
Right.
And you're gonna bake it covered. Again, that's important because of cooking the pasta. Then you're gonna uncover it, top it with that other bag of mozzarella cheese that you had, bake it for another 15 minutes, and you have this really kid-friendly, family-friendly
full meal
meatball casserole.
I would actually put a salad with this one because this sauce is in there, but there's not much for vegetables. This is a simple one, again, because in that amount of time, bam, you have your meal, and bam, you are out the door. So you have dumped, and now you can go.
So the reason that we were doing the video with the very, very frugal freezer meals, which I will link right there for you, is because I found these amazing sales on meat. Mm-hmm. Lots of different kinds of meat, because it was like you get to pick 4 different packages of meat for $20.
I have a question. I was thinking about it because I wasn't with you. Could you have gotten 4 of the same kind if you wanted to?
Yes.
Okay. I wasn't.
Yep.
I was telling my husband about Charlotte's grocery store experience, but I didn't know the answer to that.
Yes.
But I think you could have. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So just for fun and for the sake of like you guys, I picked 4 different meats so that we could figure out what to do with them, and just that's more
right.
creative. And
but
yes, you could absolutely have picked one. So in that same day, I was able to find pasta and pasta sauce for 99 cents
each.
And huge pastas, like big.
Right.
bags.
That whole bag of penne that we ended up using here was 99 cents. It was crazy.
And so one of the bags that I got was macaroni noodles, and so I used half of that to make something that I did not put in that video because it's just here for you today, because I wanted to make it for this casseroles video, which is my mom's Monday macaroni.
Yes.
Now, this is a recipe that I have been making since before I got married, and it's one of only 2 recipes I knew how to make when I got married. So, my lucky husband. Anyway.
Hey, look where you are now.
Yes, look where I am now. I have a cooking channel. So this is like very comfort food for all of us. And Christy and I did a video. I'm going to actually link that video right there.
It was a good video.
Where we shared with you freezer meals that are sort of inspired by our childhood favorites or made us think of our childhood memories. It's just a very nostalgic video. I don't know that it's that informative, but for us, it was a nice trip down memory lane. And so in that video, going off on a tangent about something else, I started talking about this Mom's Monday macaroni casserole, which we didn't do in that video because it's not a freezer meal. But it got me thinking, I wonder how I could freezer mealize this.
What was funny was when she had mentioned it, she couldn't get it out of her head. And then she made it at home, and the kids were literally walking in the door saying, "What does that smell? Did you make the thing? Did you make Mom's Monday casserole?"
Yeah, one of our oldest sons, came up the stairs and had no idea I was making this and said, "It smells like my childhood." And I haven't made it in probably at least 8 years, but he knew, and then
he knew exactly.
Isn't that and some funniest? Of our younger kids didn't really remember it, but they really liked it. It's not gourmet. This is not. We have some gourmet,
the pinnacle
recipes,
of kid friendly,
but this is not gourmet. But it's really good, and so I've changed it up a little. And I did freezer mealize it for you. But what we've got is our Mom's Monday macaroni. So when I used to make this, I would do it in a small round casserole dish. It probably the equivalent of like an 8x8, except it was round, right? Because we had a tiny family at that time. It was myself, my husband, and 2 little boys. And like really a toddler and a baby. So it's really just feeding 3 of us. So that was fine. Later, I started to double it because our family grew a lot.
Yes.
And so this last time when I doubled it, it wasn't enough. So, you know, in my case, I would have to serve this with a side salad, with some bread.
Yeah, right.
With something
Make
to
it
stretch it out.
Sure.
But for the average family, this is going to be fine. So what I'm sharing with you today is sort of the doubled version of the original with a few tweaks. In your large freezer bag, you're going to put some minced onion, 2 cups of shredded cheese. I usually use marble. This time I used a sharp white cheddar. Then you're gonna add in 2 cans of diced tomatoes. This time, and the last few times that I've made this, I have used a diced tomato blend that also has spicy red pepper in there. So you're adding a little bit of extra flavor. Then you're gonna add in 2 cups of water, some pepper and oregano. That's it for your large bag. Then you're going to put in, in a quart size bag, you're gonna measure out 3 cups of uncooked macaroni. You're gonna staple that to your large bag because on the day that you're gonna make this, you guessed it, the macaroni is gonna cook up right in this casserole. So that's what that water was for. And this one, if you wanted to, you could top it with some extra cheese. You cook it covered in your oven for just over an hour, so 65 minutes. And this one is so good. But again, it's not like gourmet good. It's like childhood memories good. Like comfort food good.
Right. But look how simple this is. This is stuff that most people would already have in your cupboard. And maybe that's why it was such a good lifesaver for you as a new mom, as a young mom that without a lot of cooking experience,
Yes.
you know, because it was safe, right? When you start freezer cooking, you got to start with things that you're comfortable with, you know, cook what you know and freeze what you know. That's the best way to get started. And you just start by doubling it. And so you cook one and you freeze the second one. Mm-hmm. And so this was a really good starter recipe if you're just learning how to do freezer meals, if you're learning how to cook at all, if you were in college.
Yeah.
Like,
freezer meals are great for you.
Anybody could do this.
Yeah.
If you're just learning how.
So those are our dump and go casseroles that we're sharing with you today. We hope that you have found something here that has you like salivating.
Totally. Totally. These are really good. They are simple. They are wonderful to put together. And the freedom of having these put in your freezer for the day that you need them is priceless. I don't know. It's just a really good feeling to have that done and ready to go for you.
It is priceless. We're going to put a video right there of that 140 freezer meals. Why not?
I think we should. You should buckle down and watch the whole thing from tip to tail.
Have a great day. Happy cooking.
Bye.